皆さんおはようございます。Prado desu. Okay, so today I want to talk about Japanese software inventions and how to avoid 101. So here on my website, in my blog, I did a post here called Avoiding 101 Rejections for JP Software Applications by Reciting a Human Interface. So basically, the idea is to avoid 101 rejections by writing the U.S. claims in a different way so that they're a human interface. A human interface is something where you have data on a screen and you select something and the data is moved or it's transformed and the data is displayed a different way. So that's going to be the general goal of this video here. So under the summary, you will learn how to avoid 101 rejections for JP software related claims by drafting the claims as human interfaces rather than electronic devices. And then the details here. So as you may know, software is directly patentable in Japan, but it's not directly patentable in the United States. And in general, the JP claims are converted to a U.S. style claims that recite, for example, an electronic device comprising a processor and a memory, storing instructions, causing the processor to execute some software method steps. So the bottom line is it's a software method. You have to write it a different way in the US, but the problem is we get a lot of 101 rejections when we do that. Today I want to teach you how to change your claims. It doesn't work with everything, but if you have an invention that is for displaying data or there is a human user interaction or something like that, those are the easiest ones to use to convert using this method. So here, the problem with the above is that U.S. examiners frequently reject such device claims under 101 as being patent ineligible because the claims, for example, recite data processing and displaying steps to be executed by a generic computer. So here's a very broad example. Most of the device claims that I see coming from Japanese companies are very similar to this. There may be the functions will be a little different, but this is the basic structure. So it's an electronic device comprising a memory configured to store instructions and a processor configured to execute the instructions and here are the steps. These are the software steps. Receive first input data, receive second input data, compare the data, and display the result of comparing the first and second input data. So basically you have receiving, comparing data, and then displaying some result. This will give you a rejection under 101 in the US because it's simple data processing and the display step is not enough to avoid 101. So, the above claim is the typical format and would certainly be rejected under 101 because the claim recites a general purpose computer that merely processes data and displays a result. So, like I said before, note that display is not sufficient to avoid 101 in most of these cases. However, and this blog post is kind of based on this case, there is a claim drafting strategy that can be used with many JP software type inventions that can avoid 101 rejections. This strategy is based on this 2018 case, Core Wireless Licensing versus LG Electronics. And in the blog post, I included the link here, so if you want to read the case, it's linked right here. So in Core Wireless, 101 rejections were avoided in a software type invention by reciting a human interface. And here's the claim. This claim is the claim from the case, and it was patent eligible under 101. The format of the claim is not that great, but that's not really the point here. The point here that I want you to see is that we have data being transformed from an application summary menu to this application display state. So I'm going to read the claim here. So the claim is to a computing device comprising a display screen. So as you can see right now, that's the only structure. The positively recited structure is just a display screen. The computing device being configured to display on the screen a menu listing one or more applications and additionally being configured to display on the screen an application summary that can be reached directly from the menu, wherein the application summary displays a limited list of data. So this application summary, this is the important thing. I want you to pay attention to this. This application summary displays a limited list of data offered within the one or more applications. So for example, it could be a list of emails, and it's just a little menu displaying your emails that are in your inbox, but it's not your email application. And what you do is you select the email from this summary list, and then that will launch your mail application, and then you can see the email in that application. And the data is transformed in that process. So that is the basic point of why this claim was found to be patent eligible, is because the application summary displayed this data, and then this data was transformed from this application summary display state to displaying it in the application itself. For example, the mail app in that case. So, wherein the application summary displays a limited list of data offered within the one or more applications, each of the data in the list being selectable to launch the respective application and enable the selected data to be seen within the respective application. Okay, so what happens? You have this list, there is one of your emails is in a list, and you can select the email in the summary list, and it will launch the respective application. The respective application is the application for that data, which is your email application. So it'll launch your email application, and then that selected data will be seen in the email application. So there's a transformation from seeing the email in the summary list, launch the application, display that same data, but transformed in the mail application. So that is why this is found patent eligible, basically. And then there's another limitation here, wherein the application summary is displayed while the one or more applications are in an unlaunched state. Okay. So as you can see, the only structure element in the above claim is a display screen. All the other claim limitations are graphical elements, for example, application summary, menu, etc., and functional limitations, for example, to display or selectable to launch, etc. So the above patent eligible claim is in a different format than a typical JP software type claim. So to better understand why it's patent eligible, I converted the above claim to the typical format for the JP software claims that are filed in the U.S. And usually, many companies have an electronic device with a display, a memory, and a processor. And then these boldface text here, this is the transformation. So you have an application summary containing a limited list of data, and then you have the enable selected data to be seen within a respective application. So this is the important text here, the limitations. But here is basically the above claim. I just reformatted it. I would suggest, read over it to see if you can understand the difference there between this claim and this one. There's a little more structure there. There's a memory and a processor, but you really don't need that to have those things if you want to draft it in this way. It's up to you. Okay. So as I was saying before, the key to avoiding the one-to-one rejection is the transforming of the data from the application summary list to displaying the data within the respective application. The data is transformed from a summary display menu to an application display. For example, you can view a list of your recent emails in a menu without launching your email application, and then when you select an email from the summary list, the email application launches and displays the selected email within the email application. Okay. So I developed some tips here, basically 3 basic steps to help you convert your software type claims to these human interface type claims. Now, I would recommend the strategy if you are getting one-to-one rejections. If you're currently not getting one-to-one rejections, I would recommend this as an option. So maybe one of your independent claims could have this drafting style, but I wouldn't recommend it for all of your independent claims. Okay, so step 1, Look at the figures for examples of interface elements that change the display when selected. Step 2, identify a data transformation that occurs when the interface elements from step 1 are selected. And the transformation should be from some kind of first state before the interface element is selected to a second state that is generated. And then you draft the claim to recite a display as above. Okay, so here's an example. Actually, this is a case that I worked on. We had a 101 rejection, this claim here, and I redrafted the claims using this human interface strategy, and we avoided all of the 101 rejections, the eligibility rejections. So here, this is a claim. It's quite short. It's a work planning system comprising an event data acquisition unit, a storage unit, and a decision unit. And these three have functions. It doesn't really matter what the exact functions are. And then, so this was rejected as being directed to a generic computer executing functions that could be carried out by a human. So what I did was I redrafted the claim here, and I recommend you study this. You can view this blog post on my website at chizitv.com. I redrafted it here. This bold text is basically the data information from the claim, and then I added this subscreen configured to display the data, and then in response to activating the subscreen, the data displayed in the subscreen is moved to a region other than the subscreen, and then this work status data associated with the work data, importance degree data, and progress data are displayed in a two-axis system. So when you select the interface element, when you select the subscreen, which displays this stuff, two things happen. Number one, it's moved. Okay, the data is moved to another region of the screen. So that's transformation number one. And then data are displayed in this excuse me. Data are displayed in this two-axis system. So that's your X and your Y. I added that second display limitation because we were avoiding some prior art in the case. I don't think that this displayed in a two-axis system is completely necessary to avoid 101. I think that this moving function here is enough. It should be enough. But anyway, so this is an example that worked for me and in one of my cases, and this is cases. It's public information, so this is not confidential or anything. But I recommend that you study this and see what is the difference between this original claim and then what I did here with this drafting style. All right, well, I hope this could be helpful for you today, and good luck. Thank you. ありがとうございました。